Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. It's the start of a brand new rank season, and to kick things off, I wanted to try out a really fun team featuring Greedent. This was built by a player called Adam, aka Tacos, who actually managed to get into the 1700s in the April International Challenge with this exact team. So huge thank you to him for the team. His Twitter is down there in the description below, as well as a rental and a paste if you want to try it out yourselves. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps in the description below. And thanks so much as always for watching. If you do enjoy, please share your support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. So the general idea here is that Greedent is an incredibly cool sweeper with Belly Drum, because with Citrus Berry and Cheek Pouch, you can actually heal all the way back to full HP after a Belly Drum. So the idea is to, get the Belly Drum up early. That's, mainly going to happen when you support Greedent with Indeedee. So follow me into Belly Drum, ideally sacrifice Indeedee, and then bring out Calyrex Shadow Rider, and then Speed Swap, so that Greedent can just outspeed almost everything in the format. This is actually a strategy that I've seen trend upwards a little bit before the European Internationals. And instead of Greedent, I actually saw Thick Fat Snorlax with Belly Drum. And so that's obviously a very similar role. The advantage of Greedent here is that it does get access to Cheek Pouch, so you can heal back a little bit more. And so Snorlax is actually, a strong option here as well. But it's Greedent, right? We just don't get to use this Pokemon very much. We don't see it very much at all. And you have the element of surprise when using Greedent, because very few people will have good experience playing against it. I know for me personally, I literally had to look up its base speed stat before using this team, and I actually thought it was a lot faster than it actually is. And so for that reason, people will generally be confused when going up against this Pokemon. So the idea is, use Indeedee, get that Belly Drum off, and then speed swap onto Greedent, and then ideally just Greedent sweep everything. Now, that's easier said than done. You will have some pretty negative matchups against things like Alecki Calyrex, because Alecki can just outspeed you, and so even after speed swap, you're still slower than Alecki. Opposing Calyrexes can be kind of a problem, especially with Will-O-Wisp pressure onto Greedent and Focus Sash. Tailwind can be annoying because then it kind of negates, the speed onto Greedent, and things will still just outpace you. And then spread damage on turn 1 of the game, if you're leading Greedent plus Indeedee, can also be a problem, i.e. Choice Scarf Kyogre with Water Spout or Groudon with Precipice Blades immediately to start off the game. So you have to worry about all of those. And then finally, you also have to worry about Unnerve coming out from opposing Calyrexes. And Calyrex is a pretty meta-restricted Pokemon, or both Calyrexes are decently, common as Metamons. And so all of the things I listed are decently common, so for that reason, this Greedent doesn't necessarily just have a field day against all of the metagame, right? I think this is an example of a team that is really fun and can get you a lot of surprise victories because people just don't really know how to play against Greedent, but it doesn't necessarily have an optimal matchup into the most common team archetypes, right? And that's fine. That's just how Pokemon is sometimes. But overall, I think it's manages to build around Greedent very incredibly well, and this is the perfect example of taking a niche Pokemon and figuring out exactly how you can make that Pokemon actually work in the metagame. So I've talked about Greedent a lot already at this point. To surround the team, you've got AV Rillaboom, you've got standard Zacian here. It's bulky, so keep that in mind. You've got Indeedee with the Heal Pulse. Heal Pulse is actually really nice in Greedent because with passive leads, you can just go follow me or Heal Pulse immediately as you Belly Drum if you are going up against something like Unnerved Calyrex, right? Or just Calyrex in general, I should say. And then the Calyrex on this team also has Trick Room, and so you can utilize that in 2 different ways, right? The first is reversing opposing Trick Rooms, and the second is actually setting it up so that Greedent can sweep under Trick Room. You don't necessarily always need Speed Swap, and I like that this team has Trick Room because it gives you more flexibility against the hyper offense, really speedy duos like the Alecki Calyrex stuff that I was talking about earlier. And finally, you've got Lumberry Defiant Eerie Impulse Thunderous, which is pretty cool. Eerie Impulse here, big surprise move that can shut down Charizards and Kyogres and other special attackers that normally, would expect Thunderous to just Dynamax it immediately in front of it. And the Lumberry here is going to give you a very favorable matchup into either things that want to Will-O-Wisp you, like Calyrex Shadow Rider, or Venusaur, which is a Pokemon that's really trended upwards in the recent weeks, it feels like, especially following European Internationals. So we'll see what Greedent can do here. I'm really excited, and I thought, this would be the perfect team to kick off the brand new season with, especially as we go up against some more unorthodox teams, in Great Ball tier and Ultra Ball tier. So thanks so much for watching, and let's get started. First game of the brand new season, and it's an Alcremie team. We actually just used Alcremie, so it's pretty cool to see that. Calyrex, Ice Rider, Kyogre, Indeedee, Porygon, Hitmontop. So Greedent has amazing sweeping potential here, but I do have to worry about just a turn 1 Water Spout from Kyogre. mean, like, Calyrex and Zacian are both really strong here, but I'm almost thinking about bringing Rillaboom so that if I go up against Kyogre turn 1, I can, like, pivot Indeedee out into Rillaboom. But then the thing is, would they really lead Kyogre into a team with Thundurus and Rillaboom? I actually think that's kind of unlikely, so I'm actually down to just go with Indeedee, Greedent, Calyrex, and Zacian. The argument here to make is whether or not I want to consider Rillaboom over something, because it's quite good into Kyogre, but let's just go with the Court 4 here. Yeah, what's interesting is this team has a lot of good anti-Kyogre tools in Thundurus and Rillaboom, and I think it's hard to feel confident leading leading Kyogre into a team with both of those. And then, like, Calyrex and Zacian also outspeed you unless you're Choice Scarf, right? So, like, you're just dealing with a lot of fast-paced threats. And they're going to go with Porygon and Indeedee. Okay, I think this is super ideal for us because there's basically not much that can actually stop Greedent to start this game. And Greedent's actually a really slow Pokemon, so it could actually outspeed my opponent under Trick Room, which is also amusing. The one thing to watch out for here is a potential foul play from the Porygon too. Okay, they trace Psychic Surge. Yeah, turn 1 I'm down to just follow me, honestly, into a Belly Drum. The thing about Porygon Indeedee is it's a very good lead in guaranteeing you Trick Room. There's very little that can stop Trick Room with that duo. They're actually just going to hard switch out into Alcremie. Okay, so first of all, it's interesting. They dropped one of their Restricteds, which I would have not expected. Double switch, okay. Into Calyrex. Sure. I mean, I feel like this next turn now, it's time for Greedent to just sweep, honestly. Because I can Belly Drum, Dynamax it, and just Steel Spike into Calyrex right now. So we get Belly Drum off, which is awesome. Okay. That was smart. Switching in Calyrex to deny me the berry. That's actually really cool. Okay. That's fine, though. I guess the only interesting thing here is, like... Yeah, I'd rather follow me here, Max, and Steel Spike. Because the follow me would redirect a potential, like, Choice Scarf Decorate from Alcremie, for example. A Glacial Lance should not KO Dynamax Greedent. And if we KO Calyrex, honestly, we just win the game. Like, my opponent brought 3 support Pokemon into this matchup with Alcremie, Porygon, and Indeedee. And, like, Alcremie and Indeedee aren't really Dynamax options, right? I guess it could be Gigantamax Alcremie, but that's not really that powerful here. Porygon 2 could be a max option, but given that it is the Trace set, I think it's a little bit more unlikely. So this is one of the downsides of using Greedent, right? Calyrex is a fairly common Pokemon in the format, so it can deny you the Citrus Recovery, but honestly, I don't think we need it here. What's also interesting is that they chose not to Dynamax, which makes sense, because I think they're trying to go for, like, the Glacial Lance KO. Yep, there it is. Greedent survives. Beautiful. It is Babiri, but this is a +6 max Steel Spike, so let's see. Oh my gosh, Calyrex actually survives. You don't see that every day. That's fine, though. Okay. Yeah, and they go for Decorate. Perfect. So Indeedee actually gets the boost instead. Now I have a defense boost on both Pokemon, which is also great. I'm down to just go for another follow me here and target the Calyrex. Yeah. Because you're not going to get the knockout onto me right now. They're actually going to Dynamax. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Dynamaxing Calyrex now. It made sense for them to not Dynamax. Oh, it's actually Max Alcremie. Okay. Wait, that's actually really sick. Interesting. Okay, Calyrex protects, but that protect actually is kind of a waste for them because I'm just going to KO them through protect. So this works out perfectly. This was definitely an interesting game, though. I did not expect Babiri Calyrex to actually take a +6 Steel Spike from Greedent. But Steel Spike's going to get the knockout through Protect. And, like, getting this knockout is so important because it activates the berries for Greedent now, right? Turn 1, it would have been cool if I just went for Heal Pulse instead. I just wanted to follow me in case, like, I don't know, Porygon 2 is min speed and just, like, targeting me with the foul play. So I don't mind covering for that option. But we definitely ran into some surprises here. Either way, though, now Greedent is going to be able to eat up its Citrus Berry. And we got Cheek Pouch as well. So hefty amount of recovery there. And it's just going to be G-Max Finale. I honestly don't even remember what the effect of that attack is, to be honest. We did use Gigantamax Alcremie in like the beginning of Sword and Shield, but that was basically it. It actually doesn't even KO the Indeedee here, thanks to Psychic Seed. I wouldn't have minded a knockout there because it would have granted me a free switch in into either of our Pokemon in the back, but... Okay, Indeedee comes out now. I mean, I'm down a Heal Pulse here onto Greedent. I wonder if +6 Steel Spike KOs Indeedee. Because, like, I want to just Steel Spike the Alcremie right now. I'm down for that. Like, one, our Indeedee also moves first here, so, like, this was just such a nice game for Greedent. Okay. You're going to Expanding Force, that's fine. Yeah, it's really interesting. They actually, like, because I was worried about Kyogre lead, right? Kyogre with Water Spell pressure would have been really scary, but I was like, you're really going to feel comfortable bringing that into a team with Kyogre as well, or sorry, Thundurus as well as Rillaboom. Not only did they not bring it, they actually, not only did they not lead it, they actually just didn't bring it at all, which I was not expecting. So, Alcremie's going to faint. Perfect. And now, I would rather go out into Calyrex, because we have committed our 3 turns of Dynamax on Greedent, right? So I do have to worry about Expanding Force right now. But what I can do is bring out Calyrex and then just Speed Swap into Greedent. Now, where Speed Swap is interesting if if it's Focus Sash Indeedee and it goes for a Follow Me as well. Yeah, that would actually be pretty interesting. They trace Cheek Pouch. Okay. So like the play I want to go for here is, because we'll beat Porygon no problem with Zacian in the back. So if we KO Indeedee here, we should win. So I'm down to Speed Swap here. If Indeedee goes for Follow Me, that means it can't click Expanding Force, which means you can't deal damage into me. I guess I could actually miss my attacks here, which is pretty scary. But I'm going to go for Follow Me and just Giga Impact into Porygon. And I'm targeting the Porygon slot because Porygon is less likely to carry Protect here, whereas Indeedee can. Nice. And so we don't miss Giga Impact. I was thinking about Earthquake there, but I don't even know if +6 EQ gets the KO there, whereas Giga Impact is just so satisfying. I mean, getting a one-hit KO onto Porygon is, like, I feel like one of the most satisfying feelings you can have in the game. So Expanding Force comes out. Greedent faints, perfect. The only thing I was worried about here was Focus Sash Indeedee going for Follow Me into a Trick Room from Porygon too, but they didn't have that ultimately, or they didn't go for that ultimately, so we were good. So yeah, this is what Greedent can do, right? I think like this team is more fun. I don't think it has a particularly strong, like you're not going to get the Greedent execution very frequently against a lot of the more like meta standard teams, but it's a great example of how like you just have one good turn and you can completely catch your opponent off guard, right? So I will take Indeedee's speed and just Behemoth Blade here. Indeedee is obviously not going to win against Zacian, so the main downside for my opponent is that they just didn't have much offense, right? And like G-Max Alcremie is kind of cool, but it barely did any damage. And so Kyogre would have been the one Pokemon that I think could have added a lot of value here. But like I said, it makes sense for my opponent to maybe not feel super comfortable bringing it because I've got Rillaboom and Thundurus in team preview. But we did exactly what Greedent wants to do, which is just get the Belly Drum off and sweep. Ran into a surprise with the Babiri. Calyrex-I started actually surviving the +6 Steel Spike, but in the end it was still okay. I thought one play that would have been interesting would have been like Dynamax Calyrex and Max Guard just so that I can't get that damage off, and then use Alcremie to, say, decorate into Calyrex's Protect, or just try to get some chip damage onto the Indeedee slot, depending on its attacks. But by Dynamaxing Alcremie, and the fact that the Greedent was actually faster, there just wasn't really very much that my opponent could do, and we even got the Heal Pulse off as well. So this is exactly what Greedent can do, but, you know, we did run into, obviously, a decently favorable matchup for the first one, so let's keep things going. And we can actually check the last team. So I was trying to think about how Alcremie was actually slower than us, and this is the explanation. It's actually Iron Ball Alcremie. which just makes sense because under Trick Room then you can, you know, move before all of your Pokemon and give them the necessary boosts. Yeah, it was Babiri, but it wasn't like max defense or a defense nature either, so it's just a testament to how bulky Calyrex Ice Rider can be. Mystic Water Kyogre here, max HP, max special attack, Focus Sash, Indeedee, Recover Area Pulse, Trick Room, and Shadow Ball. So actually, Greedent did not have to worry about Porygon 2, but obviously I didn't know that yet. And then eject button on Hitmontop. So yeah, I think, you know, the main goal of my opponent's team ideally is to get Trick Room up and then decorate and just sweep, but it's hard for them to actually get Trick Room up while dealing with Alcremie at the same time. Or sorry, deal with Greedent at the same time. So yeah. But I think Alcremie is honestly pretty underrated at the moment, which is why I wanted to feature it recently. And I think Iron Ball makes a lot of sense. But unfortunately for my opponent here, kind of worked against them just because it allowed Greedent to actually move before the Alcremie and before, you know, Indeedee as well. So yeah. All right. For this one, we've got Gyarados, Kyogre, Whimsicott, Rillaboom, Zacian, and Urshifu. I feel like Thundurus is really solid here. As always, I'm just thinking about how we can get Greedent activated. I'm like actually pretty interested in Thundurus plus Greedent. I don't think that really works though. Like Greedent, unfortunately, is relatively hard to set up, other than just going for Follow Me. But you know what? We only featured Greedent once, so I'm just gonna go with Greedent Indeedee here. Thundurus is objectively the better call here. And I think Rillaboom's solid as well, but my goal is to just show off what Greedent can do. So even if it's not the best call, we'll learn. One thing to note is that when you're playing with teams like this, you shouldn't hard force a strategy like I'm doing, unless you're just trying to have fun. Because often, like, what is actually really valuable here is the fact that if my opponent wants to hard shut down Greedent, Thundurus is actually very good into a lot of their Greedent answers in, say, Gyarados and Kyogre. But I truthfully just want to, you know, use this Pokemon as much as I can. Just because it's like, how often do we get to use a team with Greedent, right? So that's the logic here. Let's see. Okay. It's gonna be Whimsicott and Zacian. Okay, that works for me. Yeah, turn 1 Follow Me Belly Drum is honestly pretty safe. Into turn 2 Follow Me Max Move into Zacian. I guess the problem here is if Indeedee gets one shot on the first turn. Or I guess Behemoth Blade Moonblast could be enough to KO Indeedee. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they might just go Behemoth Blade and Moonblast, honestly. I think I'm still going to Belly Drum here, though, into Follow Me. The other play I could make is, like, Dynamax Greedent, Helping Hand, Max Quake. They actually switched Zacian out into Rillaboom. Okay. I mean, that truthfully puts me in an absolutely amazing position now. Because we'll actually get the Belly Drum off successfully. I don't really care for what Whimsicott goes for here. Could be like a trick. It's actually just Taunt, okay. Taunt is fine. What am I going to do this next turn, though? I'm going to want to switch Indeedee out. And then Max Greedent, I think. And I can just Max Strike into Rillaboom. The thing to watch out for, basically, is that Zacian can just come in and Behemoth Blade Greedent at any point, right? So Max Steel Spike for a defense boost might be pretty valuable here. Like here I'm thinking Dynamax, Steel Spike into Rillaboom, switch Indeedee out, and I can go out into Zacian. Because giving Zacian a defense boost is very handy against my opponent right now. And then what I could do the subsequent turn is just switch Indeedee back out into Zacian back out into Indeedee and like Max Guard Greedent. But yeah, that turn 1 switch was surprising, but I'll gladly take it. I think they were just trying to hard shut down Greedent, but with Follow Me, it doesn't work out very successfully for them. What's tricky here, though, is that I can't just bring in Calyrex Speed Swap and then like sweep with Greedent because of the fact that yeah, because of the fact that they have Tailwind Pressure from Whimsicott. So in order for Greedent to actually like sweep with Speed Swap, you need to like not go against Calyrex-I or Tailwind stuff from Whimsicott essentially. Okay, it's gonna be Grassy Glide. They unfortunately crit us, which is not ideal, and it's actually Life Orb Rillaboom, as well as Dazzling Gleam. Okay. That crit's definitely a little bit unfortunate, but it's okay. We should one-shot Rillaboom here with Steel Spike. Definitely did not expect Life Orb Rillaboom either. I could have considered Max Guarding there. Didn't find it that valuable. And I'm targeting around the Whimsicott just because I expect it to have Focus Sash. We've seen Dazzling, Taunt, Tailwind, and then a fourth. The nice thing is I got the defense boost onto my Zacian, so I can take Behemoth Blade a little bit better from their end right now. What's interesting if they bring out Zacian right now is like I could consider Max Guarding Greedent. Oh wow, it's Urshifu. Okay, well right now only one of these two Pokemon can actually carry a Focus Sash. I'm honestly down to just Max Guard Greedent here and Sacred Sword Urshifu. Man, our opponents keep not bringing both Restricteds against us, which is honestly really surprising me. Okay, there's Tailwind. Yeah, they just close combat into Greedent. Okay. It's like, even if they predicted me there and targeted Zacian, I don't even think it's that bad of a turn for me. Oh, interesting. So the Sash actually is on Urshifu. Okay. That's fine, especially because I have this defense boost on the Zacian right now. Like, who are they Dynamaxing at this point? Whims or Urshifu? Both which are kind of lackluster options for them, honestly. I think we just sack Greedent here, honestly. I'm pretty happy about its damage output. It's done enough for me. So, I'm down to Steel Spike Urshifu and Sacred Sword it. Yeah. Okay, they just Gleam. Yep, close combat into Greedent. Greedent survives that with the defense boost? No way. Wow. I was like, okay, well, Greedent's done for here. We don't need it anymore. Thank you for your service. But that's just a double KO. I mean, now that's just definitely game over, right? Like, my opponent didn't even have a good max option in this one. It makes sense, though, because, like, as, you know, Rillaboom, they wanted a priority damage onto the Greedent. Although Max Rillaboom with Tailwind Pressure, I think, would have been the correct play for them in this one. Oh my goodness, though. I can't believe Greedent hung on. That is clutch. Now, the last one is Zacian, but they just didn't have a good Dynamax option in this game. That's why in Pokemon selection, it's really important to consider, like, okay, who do I want to Dynamax in the match, and at what point can I max with it? Like, Rillaboom and Urshifu are both okay max options, but those aren't really go-to options. Like, I think Kyogre and Gyarados are by far the best options, but I think they were very dissuaded by the Thundurus in this matchup, which makes sense, right? So we can just Gyro Ball and Behemoth Blade now. And so that's a mark of good team building, right? Because the way this team is constructed is like it scares away things that are meta that are normally really good against Greedent. Yeah, you can see why I value getting the Steel Spike defense boost now as well, right? Zacian just takes that like a champ. I just can't believe Greedent actually hung on. That's absolutely bonkers. So we'll Blade into Zacian here. And Greedent will finish it off with Gyro Ball here. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely surprised because neither of my opponents brought the Kyogre, and, like, it's always really tough to drop a restricted Pokemon in Team Preview, so, you know, I think it makes sense, right? Like, once again, looking at it from their angle, like, would you really feel confident against Thundurus and Rillaboom? Probably not, but it certainly helped me a lot, right? Where it's like, if my opponent had Kyogre under Tailwind, that's a completely different game rather than Urshifu. And that game highlights the classic Whimsicott problem of, okay, you get Tailwind up, but what do you do afterwards? It just doesn't apply very much pressure. And by not KOing it, I basically denied my opponent a free switch into something that was a little bit more offensive. But I think I could have easily lost this game if the turn that they went for the Grassy Glide with the Rillaboom, if they went for Tailwind, max the Rillaboom, and then just go for G-Max Vine Lash onto the Greedent, I think I would have been in a much worse position. But yeah, Greedent manages to get the belly drop off. I just can't believe it survived that close combat. Like, I don't know that damage calc at all, but yeah, now I do. So some really, really fun matches for the Squirrel here. Alright, we've got Zacian, Calyrex with Instant, Zapdos, Gastro, and Whimsicott here. So Greedent's interesting, but like I don't love that they have Whimsicott and Calyrex because like Speed Swap doesn't even necessarily work that well here. I think I'm gonna still go Greedent Indeedee here though, honestly. You could make a pretty good argument for Rillaboom here, but Thundurus I really don't love because of the fact that it just doesn't do that much damage into Zacian or Zapdos. Like, and Zapdos and Zacian do more in return to me. Max Airstream speed control, not really that great here. Like, I think Thundurus is a lot better if I'm fighting against like Kyogre, for example, or like Charizard potentially. Because with Lumberry, we're actually really good into Venusaur, Groudon stuff, right? But it's not the case here. So, yeah. I'm pretty nervous about this one, though, because I think that there are a lot of the main issues that I don't want to see when using the Greedent strategy here, which is Calyrex and Zacian. But I don't think I have, like, a definitively better strat to go with here, so I'm still going to try it out. Calyrex and Zapdos. Okay. Now, here's the problem. I think my opponent can just go for, I'm really curious if you have Expanding Force on Calyrex. If not, Astral Barrage is actually completely useless, but you could obviously just, like, pressure Will-O-Wisp. Honestly, here I am down to just Belly Drum and follow me. Yeah, I'm down for that. I don't really think there's too much that scares me other than a turn 1 Expanding Force from Calyrex. Actually, I mean, I didn't even talk about the fact that, once again, like, my berry is cancelled here. That's not great either. So I expect Zapdos to max here. What else could I have gone for here? Like, I could max Strike just to drop Zapdos' speed so that my Calyrex can come in and then Astral Barrage them. It doesn't even work out that well, though. Thundurus, I guess, is an acceptable lead into this duo. Like, Thundurus Calyrex on my end would have been okay into Zapdos Calyrex. Because, like, I'll have the first max Airstream, so I can Airstream into Astral. But I don't even know if I love that play. Okay, it's just Psyshock. That's really good, I would argue. Into Airstream, okay. I don't think this KOs me. Oof! It's a big survival, okay. The problem is I won't get my berry up. The upside is I do get Belly Drum up. So, like, now I can max Greedent, strike Zapdos, but I think the problem here is the speed advantage for my opponent. Like, yes, we get Belly Drum up, but I've already lost a lot of resources, and they very consistently outpace me here. So, like, I am just going to Dynamax and strike into Zapdos. I don't even know if I take a Life Orb Airstream, actually. That's the other problem. Yeah. Like I said, if I wanted to have a better matchup into Zapdos plus Calyrex specifically, I think leading my Calyrex and Thundurus is the most intriguing option. And the idea of, like, Thundurus Airstreaming before Zapdos. But even that, I don't think it's, like, a super clean answer, for example. But this is also a great lead by my opponent because it just hard shuts down Greedent. I'm trying to think, like, what else I can do against this duo. With the Pokemon that we have here. Zacian, Calyrex, Indeedee. I don't think Indeedee Calyrex offers much. I don't even know if I survive this Airstream right now. The thing is, like, we're still in a terrible spot, to be honest. But Greedent at least has a nice clutch moment there. That's hilarious. with 1 HP. I do see one opportunity here, which is getting a Trick Room up with my Calyrex right now. I'm still just trying to think of answers, like, against how to go up against my opponent's lead. Even though they bring Zacian out, I honestly think with Trick Room here we have a shot. Yeah, this team just has like multiple things that you don't want to see with the Greedent stuff, which is presumably Sash Calyrex, as well as they didn't bring Whimsicott, but that'll also apply so much pressure in team preview. So I'm gonna max guard Trick Room here. Their Calyrex is the fastest Pokemon, so the speed order is going to be Calyrex. I mean, I have to max guard. I guess I could have gone for Astral Barrage in the off chance they're not Sash on Calyrex. That was the other opportunity here. Like maybe Sash is on Whimsicott instead of Calyrex, but I just think when I see Whimsicott and Calyrex, I always assume both have Sash. And if I had to pick one having Sash over the other, I would pick Calyrex. Because with Whimsicott, you can run like Mentor, Eject Button, right? With Calyrex, like your options are a little bit more limited. You run Spell Tag or Choice Scarf or Specs. The fact they're Astral Barraging here is not good. I think it probably means a double up onto my Calyrex. But that's smart, right? Oh, okay, they did Behemoth Blade into Greedent. Okay. There might just be a shot still then. How crazy would it be if Greedent pulled off this comeback because I had 1 HP? Whoa. I mean, I think I'm just going to Quake into Zacian here. And Astral Barrage. Could have read into Zacian's Protect and have doubled up onto Calyrex. That was another possibility. The fact that their Calyrex has a speed boost right now works in my favor. Either way, though, like the fact we brought it to this game state, I'm actually pretty happy about because this felt so unwinnable after turn 1. But the fact we survived with 1 HP is also, ooh, they switch. Okay, it's in a Gastrodon. That's not the worst Pokemon to go up against as a switch in. But then it's like, could I have just won the game here if I had doubled up on Calyrex? Depends on Gastro speed relative to Greedent, I would say. If they're not Sasher, we'd also just win, right? But let's see. Yeah, they are sashed. It's like you gotta be, right? Okay, they go for Psyshock on a Greedent. I mean, that's the correct play, right? Man, this is going to be so close, because we both have 1 HP Calyrex, and we both have Zacian here. It's very much a Calyrex mind games at the moment. Like, do either of our Calyrexes protect? Yeah, I get my Intrepid Sword off first. I outspeed under Trick Room, so that's promising. Basically, from both of our ends right now, it's like we could protect Calyrex, right? If you're expecting Zacian to target that slot. I'm trying to, it's like, is this a 50-50 or is there more, like, is it actually more skewed towards one of us? I feel like it should be more in my favor because I'm at least faster. I just went Behemoth Blade Astro Barrage. Do they protect? They don't protect. Okay, that's a very good start to begin with. This will have been a crazy comeback, honestly. Like, I didn't think we had any shot at winning after turn 1. Okay, they go for their own Behemoth Blade. But the thing is, you can only target one Pokemon right now. The thing is, actually, they still end up winning, right? Because my Blade won't KO them, and then they stall out Trick Room. Was it correct to just always protect Calyrex there, then? If I protect him, they target Zacian. Like, if they target Zacian there, I would just immediately win the game, right? But now they should just win, because they stall out my... they survive, yeah. Oh, this was so close. Unless, like, they're not EV to survive here, and they have no bulk whatsoever. Okay, they just go for protect immediately, yeah. If I protect with Calyrex there, I think I should always protect there. I mean, if their Calyrex protects, and we just trade Behemoth Blades into protect, we'd be in the same spot. Then they would actually still win. The reason I didn't protect was because I was like, okay, if I just Astro Brought here and they target my Zacian, I win the game. But my Zacian can take a Blade anywhere in that position. So I think protecting with Calyrex was the correct move. Yeah, they survive, and they're going to KO me here after Trick Room. That was a really close game, though. And the fact that it essentially came to whether or not I could have made the right play with Calyrex, like, I'm happy we were in that position where we could have won. Because this looked like an absolute nightmare, honestly. But obviously, I'm also disappointed that I did not get that turn correct. Like, the two things to consider there are... I think I have to target Calyrex there, so even if they protect, it's fine. I think target Calyrex and protect my Calyrex is fine. If their Calyrex protects and they target my Zacian, well, I would still survive and we'd still be in a similar position. So, yeah, it was... I don't think I get many benefits from not protecting Calyrex there other than opening up the window for winning should they incorrectly target there. But a protect on Calyrex there would have won me the game immediately. So, yeah. But also, like, you know, the thing is, if Greedent doesn't survive that early game, we would lose. But the cool thing was, like, with Trick Room, there was actually that comeback potential, which I thought was really awesome. So even though we lost, like, we were basically one good prediction away from winning there in the end, which I think you can't really complain about if you put yourself in that position after a really tough early game. But this is an example where I just don't think I have very good answers into the Zapdos Calyrex duel, specifically. And, like, even if I could re-lead, knowing what my opponent brought, I'm not sure, like, my new answer of Thunderous Calyrex is, like, significantly better either. So, finding the Trick Room play was cool. Just a little bit sad I missed the opportunity to protect there. Basically, in that position, like, both of us can protect, but that endgame should be more in my favor because I do have this speed advantage with Zacian, and my Calyrex would still outspeed my opponent's Zacian after Trick Room as well. So, yeah. Sometimes, you know, heat of the moment, it's hard to find the objective right play there. So I gotta think about that one a little bit more, but I think there's very little downside to protecting Calyrex there. But hindsight's 2020. Of course, if my opponent targeted Zacian there, I would have just had the game won immediately. But yeah, it wasn't as consistent of a play. So let's look for one more. Fun to play with this team, and then we'll close things out. Next match here, it's a Necrozma Dusk main, or sorry, Dawn Wings. Calyrex Ice Rider Trick Room team. Okay, Trick Room's really interesting here because we can use Calyrex to reverse their Trick Rooms. Astro Barrage is insane here, but I do have to worry about Wide Guard from Stakataka. What's their lead if they just want to get Trick Room up? I'd go Indeedee plus Stakataka personally. Indeedee stack. So, I'm actually thinking about leading Calyrex just to reverse their Trick Room, but it's probably more consistent to just go with Greedent anyway. I don't think I bring Thunders into this matchup. You could actually make an argument for Rillaboom, especially as a lead for a Fake Out user, and as a switch it into Spore from Rillaboom, or from Amoonguss' end. So, I don't know. I think the lead here, I could make a good argument against Calyrex or Zacian. So we'll see. Either way, though, I think Greedent here is interesting. Stakataka is the thing I'm most worried about. I actually go with Indeedee and Calyrex. Okay. Yeah, leading Greedent into Calyrex is not good here. I was hoping they would go with Stack instead, but this is a better lead from their end. And that's the thing, like, Calyrex Unnerve shutting down the Citrus is honestly a very big deal. So, I think this is a great lead by my opponent. And it makes sense because it's like you're not that worried about Astro Barrage or Will-O-Wisp from Calyrex when Indeedee just supports you with Follow Me, right? So this is actually a better lead than Stakataka because now they deny me from just getting a free belly drum up. Low key, I still want to consider going for it. Like, Glacial Lance Expanding Force is actually just a really strong play from their end right now. Could max Greedent. There's also the chance that my opponent doesn't expect Greedent, like just doesn't know about it. This is an example of like, I would just lose the game if my opponent just makes the most consistent play, and they didn't Dynamax, so if they Glacial Lance Expanding Force here, it's going to be tough to come back from. But they go for follow, like, if they follow me Belly Drum here, and this is the upside of using something that's a little bit more obscure as a Pokemon, and they're going for it! The thing is that Greedent can actually outspeed my opponent under Trick Room. Oh my gosh, okay. Sweet. This is the example of, like, finding a play that, like, shouldn't work out, but it can give you a very favorable outcome because your opponent just doesn't really know what to expect, right? So here I'm down to Dynamax, I'm down to Steel Spike into Calyrex. The main problem here is if it's Sash Indeedee, because what I want to go for is a Heal Pulse onto the Greedent slot. So we'll see if it's Focus Sash or not. There are a bunch of potential Sash users on my opponent's team here. Even though that turn 1 worked out, it's like part of the problem is I don't have my berry or ability activated because of Calyrex-'s ability, so... Either way, though, like I said, if my opponent just Glacial Lance Expanding Force turn 1, it's an absolute nightmare. But once again, like you're going up against a Pokemon that has such little usage rates, like it's very hard for my opponent to just like go for a play like that, right? Okay, so they go for Follow Me. I'm hoping they're not Sash. If they're not Sash, like we're just in such a good spot, right? Because I get a defense boost and I Heal Pulse to heal all the way back up. But unfortunately, it is Sash Indeedee. Okay, so Expanding Force here would have been safer. The thing is, I still get the knockout onto you next turn, and then I still Heal Pulse the subsequent turn, so it's not the end of the world. Yeah, Glacial Lance does not do very much there. Okay, cool. I would have been in an amazing position, though, right, if I just KO'd Indeedee. So, not ideal, but that's fine. I'm just going to Steel Spike into Calyrex again, and Heal Pulse into Greedent. The reason I keep targeting Calyrex here, by the way, is because it forces Indeedee to go for Follow Me. Let's say Indeedee protects here, and we just KO Calyrex and Heal Pulse. That's amazing. So, yeah, I was a little bit greedy to assume they weren't Focus Sash, but I was like, okay, if they're not Sash and we get this off, I feel like we just win the game. But we were in a position where I think Expanding Force would have been fine. I was mainly nervous about Dynamax Calyrex and then Hailstorm into Greedent for a one-hit KO. But I guess, like, because they're Sashed, my play doesn't even get around that, right? So, okay, they just go for another Follow Me. So this time around, I will get the KO onto the Indeedee and then heal Greedent back up. Getting these defense boosts is so valuable, by the way. One other thing my opponent could honestly consider is actually reversing their own Trick Room at the moment. I'm curious if they think about that. So Indeedee faints. There's Glacial Lance. Okay. And we get a big Heal Pulse off here. And we're at +2 defense. The +2 defense is the more important part of the equation right now because most of their attackers are physical attackers. Now, they do have Lunala. Sorry, not Necrozma, Duskmane. Dawn Wings. Oh my goodness. You can see, like, it's just such an uncommon Pokemon. Yeah, I'm so unused to fighting against it. It's very much like Lunala, right? You could also bring out Stakataka. Amoonguss. If you go Amoonguss, though, I'm just going to Follow Me. Yeah, it's Stack. Okay. Stack is fine, honestly, because I've got these defense boosts right now. 2 turns of Trick Room. Steel Spike into Calyrex is pretty safe. But Calyrex gets crushed by my Pokemon in the back. Like, here I'm actually down to just Max Quake until a Stakataka, and then just Follow Me. And then Greedent could get a Giga Impact off against Calyrex or the Necrozma. I also like the idea of getting a special defense boost. The only thing is, if I target Calyrex instead, then I can get rid of it, and then it would activate my berry, but because Trick Room is expiring soon, Zacian and Calyrex Shadow Rider are both really good into their Calyrex, right? Okay, so they don't Dynamax either Pokemon. That's fine. It's just Rock Slide. Nice. It's Life Orb stack, okay. I don't know, is it worth it going for the KO onto Calyrex Ice Rider there? It really might be, but... Stack is a Pokemon that instills a lot of fear into me, so I don't mind removing it from the field. And this is such an interesting game where, like, I'm using my opponent's Trick Room against them, essentially. Okay, we get Glacial Lance off. Okay. Last turn of Trick Room. I think we go out into Zacian, because with Calyrex I want to conserve the Focus Sash on that. And there's Necrozma. So the thing is, Necrozma-Calyrex is an incredibly weak duo into Calyrex Shadow Rider outside of Trick Room. They haven't Dynamax yet, which is the main part of the equation, though. I'm going to Giga Impact Calyrex here and just protect Zacian. I could Gyro Ball the Necrozma as well, but I don't think that's going to pick up a KO, like, because they're both pretty slow Pokemon here. I guess Earthquake's another move to consider, but Giga Impact maybe just one-shots their Calyrex. They don't Dynamax. I feel like none of our opponents have really maxed today, which has obviously been good for me. Really surprised about the lack of a max on either Mon here, though. Oh my goodness, this Greedent is so fun. That actually activates our berry, heals us up as well. I think max Calyrex... I mean, I guess they were probably just expecting to survive, right? And not get one shot. In what, just Glacial Lance? Meteor Beam, okay. So that explains the lack of Dynamax on the Necrozma. You want that special attack boost. I think even if Calyrex maxed here, to be honest, I had the game won, other than if Necrozma had Wide Guard. Even if you had Wide Guard, I would just Behemoth Blade into the Calyrex slot. So I don't think Dynamaxing here actually would have really saved them, but Greedent put in a clinic. Way better of a performance than I'd anticipated. Because like I mentioned, if my opponent just Glacial Lance Expanding Forces turn 1, I actually just lose the game. But sometimes you fall into a position where you basically need to hope for your opponent to maybe not find the best play. And once again, they're in this position fighting against a Pokemon that is very obscure. It's like if I played against Greedent, I, honest to God, would not know its speed, right? And so, yeah, because of that, then... yeah. So it makes sense. It makes sense for my opponent to not really know how to fight against Greedent. I think in a best of 3, this would not work once again. So they just found a really good lead in Sash Indeedee plus Calyrex Ice Rider. I don't really know what I can do to beat that easily with this comp. How do I beat Indeedee Calyrex? Like, Thunderous Rillaboom, which I didn't brain, don't really offer me that much. Both are really bad into that duo. So then it's like a combination of the 4 that I brought. But even then, I think it's actually a really bad matchup. But we managed to get a little bit lucky because my opponent, you know, didn't really have a way to shut down Greedent in the early game. And then they set up Trick Room for us, allowing my Greedent to actually sweep under Trick Room. But it's something like, this is... So not something that I would ever work again, right? Oh, it's Max Flare, actually. Okay, that's cool. So it's Meteor Beam, Fire-type attack. I would think Psychic and Ghost, so is it just quadruple offense Necrozma? That's really interesting, if so. Okay. And now we can just bring out Calyrex. Man, this team was so fun, though. I've really had a blast with it. Like I mentioned, I don't think it's going to be the most consistent on like high ladder, but to show off Greedent in a format with so many restricteds and have it be an absolute star in the games today is awesome. So we'll take it. Now we just Gyro Ball into Astral Barrage. I thought about speed swapping. They have a +1 max Rockfall, though, so let's not throw the game. Because, like, I could speed swap. I honestly have no idea how much Gyro Ball would do, but the speed difference, like, doesn't work in my favor, right? And then they could just Rockfall, one-shot Calyrex, and then I don't even know if 2 Gyro Balls with Sandstorm gets the KO there. So, yeah. That is going to be it for today's episode, though. So, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed the showcase with Greedent, and really glad to have brought it in and, you know, show what it can do as we were actually able to successfully set it up. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the team. Details are in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll catch you all next time. All right. Peace.